and blessed to be a part of your day. Thank you all for joining us. We do appreciate it. You're on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller with you. Ray Amaya running the ship, making sure everything's rolling, hoping you're having a great start to the morning. As Larry said, it looks like it's going to get a little snowy this afternoon, making tomorrow's commute a little challenging. And by the way, we have the latest forecast from the National Weather Service available for you on KIDOTalkRadio.com. We just kind of decided to do a story on it. You can check that out. Also, the latest on the credit card scammers in Meridian. And, you think to yourself, this is kind of like, it always amazes me when people say, well, the year's winding down. Well, no, you still have to go into work. You still have to come up with something. You still have to produce, right? So as I'm sitting here, I've got a few questions for you. And it's been a while. And I don't know if we had one last year, if we had the famous Kevin Miller Christmas party. And we go on and on and on with this. It's on again, it's off again, it's on again, it's off again. But I wondered if people are interested in, coming to the studio, maybe December 24th, I think. I think we have to work that day, Ray Amaya. We don't have to work that day? Well, then we'll have to do it. Ray Amaya, you might have to miss the company Christmas party, but you can come in on vacation. You come in on your own time well enough as it is. But anyway, that's a thought. So we'll think about that at 580-5436. 580 KIDO. Then we've got the issue involving the wall, right? The issue involving the wall where Pelosi and Schumer are saying, look, Trump, coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to indict you and then we're going to arrest you, but work with us. I don't know. Maybe, they say the older you get, the more tolerant you get, but I don't know. I like those old curmudgeons that stick-to-itiveness. Like in the movies, the old Godfather movies, you're dead to me. And when you say you're dead to someone, you're really dead to someone. Today, we're touchy-feely. We don't want to offend. And therefore, life's too short. No, not in the old country. So if I'm Donald Trump, I'm thinking to myself, what in the world did I get myself into? Here I've got Pelosi, I've got Schumer wanting to give me a fifth of what I want. I want $5 billion. They're only going to give me $1 billion. But I didn't know that Nancy and Chuck were running things. They're still in the minority. Where are the squishy, vishy, fishy Republicans? And look, not all Republicans are squishy, fishy. Look, we want to cheer for the home team. We proudly say that we're Republicans. In fact, I believe in the Treasure Valley, we're the only ones that say we cheer for the home team. We're not down with the devious little libs. We cheer for the good guys, the conservatives. Oh, if only the conservatives would appreciate that, right? But that's why you have trouble with some Republicans. And this is not to bash the Republicans. Heck, everybody does that. But if you have the House, you have the Senate, who cares what Chuck and Nancy say? Really? There should be a thing. You're not the boss of me. And what does it say about our country where you have a sitting president that until the devious little libs tanked the stock market, and I'll get to that, the economy was rolling, everything was great. And now what do we have to show for it? Well, the economy's tanking, Trump's going to be impeached. Well, of course, and I was trying to say that to Dave Petzo yesterday, and if you heard what we were talking about earlier, this has an impact on the markets. When you're talking about a change in leadership, by the way, I don't think anybody's, there are a lot of people that are going to be investing in England right now. Hey, how about those French stocks? Vive la France. Does your dog bite? It's not my dog. But you know what I'm saying with references to Peter Sellers and the Pink Panther. When you start attacking the leadership of a country, just like when you attack the leadership of a school or when you attack the leadership of a company, the workers all go crazy. There's a new show on Netflix. It's not very good, but this time of year, so what? It's about the Montreal mob, and the boss gets taken away, and then everything goes to heck. That's what the devious little libs are doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And they are so spiteful that their gal Hillary didn't win. They're seeking to overturn the election. Most of us, we just want to enjoy Christmas. Jim from Middleton, he starts us off with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. You brought up a very important point, where are the Republicans? your new little buzzword, the DLLs. What about the Republicans, Kevin? They are pathetic and so phony and weak. I don't even know why they put a suit on in the morning and go to work. Where have these people been the last 30 years? They don't fight. They don't stand up. We should have had the wall funded and mostly built by now. We should have had Obamacare overturned, okay, not to mention dozens of other things. But, Kevin, I focus on the Republican Party. We already know what the Democrats are. They're a lost cause. They're treasonous. But our own party, we need to police our own ranks. And I brought this up other times when I call in. I am just so disappointed that words do not express what the Republican Party is today.
Well, and I think, unfortunately, within the next 5 years, what has happened with the National Republican Party could be coming here to Idaho.
Well, hopefully we get the word out. People need to make the difference, okay? That's where a big part of it comes from. But the constant, hiding under their desk and making false promises, and the Democrats will fight harder for what is wrong and illegal and bad for America than the Republicans will fight for what is good for America and the law and the Constitution. I'd like to know who these people are really taking orders from, Kevin.
That's a good point. Well, with the Republicans, it's tough because you have the Chamber of Commerce crowd. They don't want the wall. They want open borders. And that's a fight within the Republican Party.
And they're willing, Kevin, to destroy America, cheapen the country, and turn it into a third world country for a couple of extra bucks. I mean, my goodness, it's not like you're going to live to be 1,000 years old. You're going to live about 75 or 80, and that's it, okay? And what you've done positive and what your family thinks about you is far more precious than a few more bucks. And I'm a capitalist all the way, but not to the point where you dishonor yourself.
Jim, we appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet, Kevin. And if you do have a Christmas party this year, I will be there.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, have a great day, Kevin.
You too. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Aaron in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, sir. Yes, I mean, I agree. I just think that the Republicans are weak, and they always talk a good game during the election time. I mean, they all sound like the second coming of James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, but once they get in, they just sort of just become part of the blob. I'm also disappointed with Kavanaugh as well. I read yesterday that basically he did not join Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch in trying to bring a case before the court regarding Planned Parenthood and funding that a lot of the states are trying to block off. So, we go to the barricades for hoping to get somebody good, and then they just turn right around and kind of just become part of the blob. And so I want more people like Thomas and Gorsuch.
Appreciate that. And, that's a point that I covered yesterday, or I just saw that yesterday, Aaron. And for people that aren't familiar with it, you had the Planned Parenthood decision, whether or not states would have the right to defund Planned Parenthood. 3 of the justices, as you said, and then you got to worry about Sneaky Roberts. Roberts all of a sudden thinks he's a swing vote. Mr. Obamacare, thank you, Justice Roberts. And Kavanaugh, maybe Kavanaugh's so beat up, but look, out of 2 conservatives, this should be, and here's another one with Kavanaugh. He's a Bush guy. Are we getting David Souter all over again? Or, look, are they just so tired of being beaten up? And Aaron, that's the consequences or the side effects of the mob rule. Maybe the guy was just so beat up he didn't want to go there.
Maybe, but I have a sneaking suspicion that, he's a Bush guy. I mean, he's not good on the Fourth Amendment. I mean, I want solid people. So anyway, I'm just constantly disappointed. But hey, thank you for everything. Have a good one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love this. Were your home for the solidly disappointed every morning? Wake up for that. No, thank you, Aaron. You're right about that. And this is just, again, some of the things that we are bringing up again and again and again and holding people accountable. But how can Donald Trump work with Pelosi and work with Schumer, considering what they've said and what they have planned for him? We'll talk about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. By the way, big show today. Bill O'Reilly will join us at 7:35. BillO'Reilly.com. Killing the SS. Can't wait to hear what Bill O'Reilly has to say. Do appreciate Bill O'Reilly joining us exclusively here in the Treasure Valley on KIDO Talk Radio. And you're home for Fox News on the radio, so sometimes we like to share with you some of the great clips from the big Fox, as we like to call them. And Alan Dershowitz was on with our friend Tucker Carlson last night and had this to say concerning, well, the media outrage and comparing what President Trump is going through to President Bill Clinton. Let's take a listen.
I want everyone out there to imagine the following scenario. Let's assume when Bill Clinton was running for president, Paula Jones came up to him and said, unless you pay me $130,000, I'll reveal our affair. And let's assume Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton together did exactly what it's alleged that Donald Trump and Cohen did together. I guarantee you the New York Times, NBC, MSNBC would be railing against any prosecutor who dared to suggest that this was a violation of the campaign finance law. Everybody would be on the other side of this issue. There'd be Republicans out there saying, strip him of the presidency, impeach him, indict him. Every Democrat would be saying, this is a witch hunt. This is terrible. We need a single standard. If you wouldn't go after Bill Clinton, don't go after Donald Trump. If you're going after Donald Trump, then you have to go after Hillary Clinton for everything that she allegedly did. For example, one of your guests talked about the Federal Corrupt Practices Act. That applies when you bribe a foreign official. What they're arguing is that there was a rumor that maybe somebody offered Putin a penthouse in a tower that Trump was thinking of building in Moscow. And if that had been done, it would be a violation of the FCPA, Federal Corrupt Practices Act. But it's all based on hypotheticals and maybes. And I just want everybody to apply the shoe on the other foot test. If Hillary Clinton were president and the Republicans were saying lock her up, everybody would be on the other side. They'd be screaming about how dare you expand criminal statutes? How dare you expand the criteria for impeachment? Now all these liberal Democrat, fair-weather civil libertarians are saying the hell with the Constitution, the hell with civil liberties, put all that aside, get Trump. That's the most important consideration. Get him by any means possible. This is such a danger to our constitutional system that I would hope that true civil libertarians would rebel against it as I am.
There we have it, Alan Dershowitz from the Tucker Carlson Show. Remember, you'll only hear Fox News and Fox News commentators and Fox Nation commentators on your home for Fox News here in the Treasure Valley. KIDO Talk Radio at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And Professor Dershowitz is right. We continue to expand anything, the net, and yet clearly, when you talk to your friends, the DLL, the devious little libs, and they go, well, look at me. Thank you, Obama. Thanks, Obama. Thanks, Obama. Can't get that out of my head. Maybe it'll be in your head all day. Thanks, Obama. Well, he had an attorney general, Eric Holder, that was very beholden to him. Loretta Lynch, the same thing. They were going to put a special prosecutor in. You tell me the crime against humanity. And as a moral person, as a sinner, as a flawed individual, at one time that, you know, you could call me Mr. Righteous, not only Mr. Right, but Mr. Righteous. As a person that realizes that I am a flawed individual, I'm really not down with Donald Trump and what happened in his personal life. But that's up to him and God to determine. Just like I wasn't down with Bill Clinton being on the radio, talk radio at the time, and advocating for Bill Clinton that what you do in your private life does overflow into your public life. But we knew that Donald Trump wasn't a saint to begin with. He never said that he was, never claimed to be a social conservative. But you tell me, before he's president, doing business with all these folks, and remember, Obama was the one that laughed at everybody that said Russia was a threat, Mitt Romney. Right? So, building upon that, let's go back to Barack Obama. What he did to journalists, to people, remember Becky, whatever her name is, from the Wetumpka Tea Party? That she was audited. And you know when you're audited by the IRS, your life is permanently on hold. Anybody that has dealt with the IRS, it's a pain in the butt. And that's being very nice to the IRS. You can be on hold for up to 5 hours, 6 hours. You know, that's why we have all these tax things. Hey, I'll fight the IRS for you. Just pay me up front first. What? You can't afford to pay the IRS, but you can afford to pay me regardless. Spying on American citizens. Auditing people. If you backed Prop 8 in California, the Obama administration targeted you. Lois Lerner and the IRS. And no harm, no foul. Hillary Clinton and the email servers. What's a bigger danger to the United States of America? Hillary on her broom. Let me apologize for saying that. I withdraw those comments, Your Honor. Obama, Lois Lerner, the IRS, or Donald Trump. And what they're going to do with Trump is they're going to try and get him on past business deals. What they're doing with Manafort has nothing to do with the campaign. And basically what we're seeing here, and we called it first, it's a coup against the President of the United States. Because the devious little libs don't like the fact that Donald Trump's a winner and they're losers. The devious little libs. That's why they're devious. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Traffic and weather together.
7's Eric Everett.
And, you know, on another note, let me just say how wacky and zany being politically correct has gotten. How many people are familiar with the Heisman Trophy, right? Now, this is a sports story, but it goes a little further. The Heisman Trophy goes to the longest, biggest athlete in college football. Now, there are many people across the country, over 900 people, that vote for the Heisman Trophy. I happen to be one of them. Yes, I'm one of the people in Idaho that vote for the Heisman Trophy. I voted for Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama, and those of you that have followed this show know that, you know, I love Nick Saban, I love Alabama, what have you. And Tua Tagovailoa didn't win, and so coming up we're going to have a blog, has nothing to do with politics, talking about the anti-Bama bias. But the kid that won, Kyler Murray, is an incredibly talented player. So talented that he could be the first athlete since Bo Jackson, since Deion Sanders, to be able to play both pro football and pro baseball. The Oakland A's drafted him, I think, in the first round. And the Oakland A's aren't dumb when it comes to player acquisitions. They paid him a $4 million signing bonus to hit a ball with a stick. Kids, baseball ain't a bad gig. So Kyler Murray was forced to apologize, just like Kevin Hart, the comedian that was supposed to host the Oscars, but he refused to apologize because he apologized already for some anti-gay comments on Twitter. Why people tweet is beyond me, but that's another story. So Kevin Hart said, no, I've apologized enough. I'm not going to apologize. So Kyler Murray, I think at the age of 15, he's now, I believe, 20, maybe 21, had to go and apologize and remove tweets that were homophobic, anti-gay. Now, if you say, I don't agree with the gay lifestyle, then you're anti-gay and you're homophobe. That's the world we live in today. But whatever happened to expression? And we talked a little bit about this yesterday and look, maybe the tweets were off the hook, but we're going to go back 5, 6, 7 years. What is it? Josh Allen. Remember the number 1 draft pick from the Buffalo Bills, played for Wyoming, was here for the Potato Bowl, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And what happened to him? Well, he said some things when he was a teenager. Can't we give people a pass on being young and stupid? Do we have to continue to go back and politically correctly sanitize everyone? I mean, the kid won the Heisman Trophy. He said it when he was young and dumb. And if you missed the show yesterday, we were talking about this University of Montana and Western. I'm going, yes, West, rugged. No, you can't be offensive. You can't even have mean facial expressions at this place. I mean, one person's smile could be another person's frown. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
KIDO Talk Radio is your proud home for Fox News Radio, exclusively here in Idaho's Treasure Valley. Joining us now, our great friend Simon Owen. Simon, good to have you with us on KIDO Talk Radio.
Morning, Kevin.
Boy, trouble in Britain, trouble in France, a lot going on when you're thinking about where do we start this morning?
Well, I mean, we can start maybe here in London because these are chaotic and frantic and unpredictable days in politics here. This is a close ally of the United States, as you know, and also the fifth largest economy in the world. So as the Brexit situation appears to be coming to a head, I think there's a certain amount of interest in just what is going on here and what might happen next. And we can only say what might happen next because it's all very much uncharted territory at the moment. Today was supposed to be the day when Theresa May, the Prime Minister here, went to Parliament. She spent a couple of years negotiating how Britain is going to divorce from the European Union. This is after the referendum here a couple of years ago. And May had got this vote on the schedule to ask lawmakers to give their backing to the divorce that she has negotiated. And she would then go back to Brussels and complete the deal. And Brexit Day is slated for March 29th next year. So the timing would have been fairly comfortable. But the vote in Parliament is off because it became clear that Theresa May was going to lose. And so she's called it off. There are lawmakers have a host of complaints of all sorts of colours. And so May realised that it wasn't going to happen. And so instead of voting, she isn't actually even in the country today. She's in Germany. She's also been to the Netherlands this morning. She's going to Belgium later. So a whistle-stop tour of Europe to try and win some support from fellow European leaders, see if they can smooth some wrinkles in the plan. And she's hoping to get some concessions, or as she says it, assurances from European leaders. And then she wants to take it back to Parliament for another go at a vote. But the clock is really starting to tick now towards that March 29th exit date.
Well, I mean, hasn't that already been determined? So what is the controversy with leaving Brexit?
Well, yeah, I mean, the result is clear that people have voted to leave. But, I mean, this is a 45-year marriage that's being untangled. And it turns out there are various ways of doing a Brexit. You can cut everything. You can say, right, that's it. We'll start from scratch. And that means that overnight, next March, everything from banking to trade to travel to customs to rules at the border, they'd all change overnight. And it would be a pretty dramatic rupture. And there's a chunk of lawmakers in the British Parliament who say that's fine. They call it a clean Brexit, but not significant numbers, not enough to get that through Parliament. Well, there are others who say, you know, Brexit has become a different question in the past couple of years, and it should be put back to the country. There should be another referendum. There are other lawmakers still who say they like Theresa May's deal. It's a good compromise in their eyes, but there's not enough of them to get it through Parliament. So yes, you're right in the sense that the decision has been made that, you know, Brits voted to get out of Europe, get out of the European Union. But it turns out that it's a more complicated question than that. And the question on the ballot paper was perhaps overly simple.
What do you make of what's going on in France? Does that have any impact on what's going on in Britain?
No, in the sense, it doesn't really. But I mean, I think it's something that all governments would be wise to keep an eye on. I mean, just how protest movements can acquire huge amounts of power in just a few weeks. You know, I think these are called the yellow vests, these protesters, because it started as a protest about fuel tax, and in France, you have to have a yellow safety jacket in your car when you drive. So these people were wearing this. So it came the yellow vest. It's going to go down as one of the most successful protest movements in history, I'd have thought, because 4 weeks of protests, some of them turned into riots, but most of them were peaceful protests. And they won a huge climb down from the French president. You know, what does that say to leaders around the world? You know, we got this fascinating TV address at prime time from Emmanuel Macron from his palace yesterday. And this is a man who's often accused of being arrogant, of being out of touch. Well, last night he said, I know I may have hurt you with my words. And he said, I accept my share of responsibility, which is extraordinary language from Macron, because he is a bit aloof most of the time. And he's now gone from, you know, imposing a range of tax cuts, trying to get the French economy back on track, back in the black, lower unemployment and that sort of thing. And last night he announced what the government says could be $11 billion in concessions, tax cuts for pensioners, a hike to the minimum wage. And that's all within 4 weeks of these protests starting. So, you know, it's been a tumultuous time in France as well, and it's all local. It's all really restricted to that country. But I think presidents around the world might pay a bit of attention to just how this played out and how quickly it unfolded.
Simon, we appreciate it, and good luck today covering May, and the drama continues. A lot of drama in your part of the world.
Yeah, well, it keeps us busy.
It does. Well, it keeps us employed. You're right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, Simon Owen, exclusively here on KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up on Friday, Bishop Kelly will be at Bishop Kelly High School, promoting our school, securing our future. Can't wait to see all our friends at Bishop Kelly. And what an incredible season, thanks to Ray Amaya for putting that together. Chandler and George, the entire team, Cap Ed Credit Union, Team Mazda Subaru. We couldn't do it, and especially our schools, teachers, and educators that realize the value of sharing the local spotlight right here on Idaho's first radio station. We go to Tom Munns, TomMunns.com. I think this program is starting to get bookended. Tom Munns in the 6 and Tea Party Bob in the 8. Good morning, sir.
Oh, that's how great is that? That's a good combo.
I'm with you.
Well, I had to apologize. I should not have even responded to Hank's comment yesterday, and I apologize about that. It's just that accusations like that, after as long as I've been on, are so far off the mark. I was absolutely stunned, and so I should apologize for that. But I wanted to start with a question. We talk about social justice, and we talk about this loony land, and we talk about the libs, and I'm always trying to go down before I pass on from this earth to give some worthy quotes. But
now, Tom, but let me just jump in here. To your credit, Hank was the one that started it. You didn't start it. And for people that aren't aware, Hank said you're doing the work of George Soros, and I don't think you heard it, so I repeated it to you. And I thought, man, if Tom had heard that, his ears would be burning. But anyway, so people, we want to make sure that everybody's filled in. So that's the Hank reference from yesterday. I apologize. Please go ahead.
No, that would have been as ridiculous if I would have said that Hank works for George Soros. I mean, when we have conservative people or people that state that they're conservatives implementing the liberal agenda without even offering any advice or evidence, you'd actually question somebody's position. So that's kind of where I was on that issue. But so my question was, is evil more evil because it does what it does, or is good more evil for allowing it to happen? In other words, if we have the liberals, we've got corruption, we've got globalism, we've got social justice, we've got LGBT, we've got France and Britain are on fire, we've got this sort of multicultural thing, we've got practically no desire to shut down the borders for the most part. I mean, all of these have been generated by the minority. And so I think when I go back and I read my history about the Founding Fathers and about how they believed that factions were not only dangerous, but that the Democratic majority would oppress the minority, I'm puzzled now because I'm in America realizing that the minority has driven the agenda and they've been very, very successful at it, while the stated conservatives sit there and really do nothing more than complain. And so I was thinking about whatever happened to the fight in the American spirit, the fight for what is right. I think many of us are suffering from some form of mental illness while our country is in the condition that it's in, that people don't do anything. Maybe they just don't understand the seriousness and about how so far above right, left, Republican, Democrat that our problems really are.
Maybe it's induced by our computers and phones.
Well, I mean, obviously, and that's part of it, the misinformation and stuff that we get. But, I mean, for conservatives to attack other conservatives, and I know that I've been guilty of doing that. I think we all are, because we all have tidbits of information, I think, that would add to what other information people have rather than detract from it. We like to kind of attack each other, and that's really kind of sad. And I don't see that America is going to win if we operate this way. I mean, there are lessons from the collective, whether you like it or not, that we can learn to become successful. And unification is one of those things. And so while we're all emotional about these issues, we've got to understand some of the greater issues. France and Britain are because of a UN agenda to multiculturalize the nation to be able to change the vote, a lot like what's going on in America. And Britain is pulling off Brexit because they don't want to be under a regional form of government, which was under the United Nations, to be able to help bring about the TPP and eventually the TTIP, which is the free trade agreement. And now we have the USMCA, which Trump is supporting, which is like the TPP that he said was bad and NAFTA that he said was bad combined. So we've got to be really careful in America, and we've got to start understanding a little bit more of the deeper issues. And I really try to...
Tom? Well, it looks like the NSA got Tom. Tom, call back if you'd like to finish your statements. Kevin Miller with you here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You heard from Tom talking about Hank. Coming up next, Hank will give his defense, his side of the story. Plenty of time to talk this morning. Don't forget Bill O'Reilly next hour. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to Hank in Boise. Good morning, Hank.
Well, part of my frustration with Tom Munson, even though I think his heart is in the right place, is that the liberals get their way through the administrative state and the courts. And one of the problems, if you read the Constitution, I mean, if you use Tom Munson's reasoning, George Mason, who was the author of the Virginia Bill of Rights, would be a liberal because he favors he was the one that put the Convention of States in Article 5 because he feared that Congress, if it passed tyrannical laws, would not vote to limit its own powers if it overstepped. And there's no way, unless we get 2/3, and even then, if the Republicans got 2/3, that we could get an amendment, for instance, for the states, a mechanism where the states could overturn constitutional, decisions by the court. For instance, on the gay rights issue, a number of states, including our state, passed laws within our Constitution banning a lot of the LBGT agenda, only to have the courts overturn it. But there's no mechanism, and there's no way the Congress is going to vote for a constitutional amendment where 2/3 of the states, for instance, by the legislatures, could overturn a decision in the court. The other thing about the rulemaking thing of the administrative state, a lot of the obnoxious EPA, a lot of the other obnoxious rules that we get are not voted on by the people, and there has to be a mechanism where the Congress has to, by roll call vote, approve these rules, and if they don't, they go out of action or out of abeyance. And a lot of these things have an economic impact on our economy.
So
and
now back to the point, though, Hank, let me interrupt here on KIDO Talk Radio. So you did say that he is doing the same work as George Soros.
Soros has put money down in certain key legislative districts or legislatures across the country to defeat this. Soros is very much an opponent. They'll let the Tom Munson of this world to do the frontline talking because then they don't have to expose their hand. But behind the scenes, Soros has put down money against this. There's no question. There's no question about that. And because it jeopardizes their agenda. And there's no way realistically that it's going to come. They're going to win the battle over the long run by their control of the courts and the administrative state. Even despite elections where we defeat them on occasion, they're going to eventually get their way. They're going to get their socialist state by way of administrative decree and by
So that's why you're in favor of the Convention of States.
Yes, that's why I'm in favor of the Convention of States. There's other reasons too. We need a balanced budget amendment because the other mechanism that feeds the left is these unbalanced budgets. And that's also been a part of the Communist Manifesto. Was the unbalanced budget. If you go back to Karl Marx in 1848 and the Communist Manifesto, these guys, and also the income tax, the inheritance taxes. This was also part of the Communist Manifesto in 1848, and these things can't be changed under the present system because you're not going to get 2/3 control by the Republicans in the near future. The closest we could ever come to it in the 20th century was the 60th Congress in 1907. That's the last time that we had actually 2/3 Republicans in the Senate and in the House.
Even though look at even when we have majorities, though, we can't do something simple. But your ears have been burned in the past few days. Anything else specifically you want to say to Tom?
I don't have any personal bias against Mundt. I think most of the time
no,
he's right.
And we're not saying you did, but you came out very strong. And
I came out strong because of frustration, because they don't see the error. They don't see the errors of their way on this. By opposing any kind of constitutional change, they in a sense have set it up for the libs to eventually win.
Hank, great points. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
It's Eric Everett.
And I'm Kevin Miller here. You know, people are yapping about President Trump. And President Trump settled these affairs and everything else. And really all it is to smear President Trump. But, you know, I think we're forgetting something. And I'm taking a look here at the Washington Post from a few weeks ago, and according to the Washington Post, the Congressional Office of Compliance has shelled out more than $17 million settling sexual harassment lawsuits. Now, that's not $17 million from somebody's salary. That's $17 million from our taxpayer-funded accounts. So coming up next, why is it good for the goose, but not good for the gander? And isn't life just too stressful enough to be straying anyway, whether you're a congressman or Kevin Miller? We'll talk about it next. Please stay with us. Fox News next. Good morning.